morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and I'm joined here every Sunday with the man with the best beard in the business, my co-host on every Monday night on the table spot over on Rivet City Radio, Twitch, and Off the Top Media's YouTube channel, and the host of The Boom every Wednesday night over on those channels. Mr. Cam G. Cam, how you doing on this wonderful football Sunday?
Man, I'm ready for some football. That's for sure, man. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so normally, here's the thing, is normally we are live at 11, but I overslept. It's as simple as that. It's my fault, but we're still here, and we're still going to talk football, and I apologize to Cam. I apologize to the viewers, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay. I mean, the replay don't matter because you can watch it any time, but that's the fact. It's been a long week for me. There's been a lot of personal life things, but that's no excuse. Should be here when we say we're supposed to be here, and that's my fault. So I apologize to y'all, but we're going to get into it. We're going to get into college football week 4 recapping. We're going to get into week 3 of the NFL, and we're going to talk about the big news coming out of the NFL. There's a lot of big news, a lot of crazy news coming out of the NFL. So we're going to get into it. Before we do, I want to remind everybody to head over to all the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias right now, twitch.tv/the Huddle Hub Podcast, and then on X, YouTube, and TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod. Over on the YouTube, you got to hit that subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything. You hear subscribe, you think, oh, I got to pay something. No, that's not how it works. You just got to hit subscribe to follow and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. So, Cam, let's get into it. Week 4 of college football. What's crazy is I said to John, and I've said to a bunch of other people, it is crazy how fast the football season is going right now. We are going into week 5 of college football next week. We're already through week 4. It's nuts how fast it is going. We're already in week 3 of the NFL, So yeah. It's nuts, man. I said to my mom last night, summertime went by so fast. Like, today is the last day of summer.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And tomorrow, the first day of fall. So, but it feels like football weather out there. But Cam, looking at the college football top 25, and we had a big matchup yesterday. Indiana, number 19 Indiana, they upset number 9 Illinois. I mean, did you expect Indiana to go in and beat Illinois the way they did? They beat them 63-10.
No, not at all. I think this year they're really trying to prove something. Because I think last year that was the thing that was in question. Like, are they really big time? And then, like I said, they struggled with some of the better competition. So I think this year they're really all about business. So definitely a shock from Indiana.
Yeah, a lot. Me and John talked about this game on Tuesday, and he had picked Indiana to come in and upset Illinois. And I said to him, it's realistic that Indiana can go in and upset. We've seen a lot of upsets this year already. Vanderbilt going in and getting their big upset last week, getting into the top 25. It's a proving ground now of whether they're going to be real or not. And they came out yesterday and beat Georgia State 70-21. But the real question is going to be, are they going to be able to hang with the bigger teams like Alabama, the bigger SEC teams like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, all those, regardless of who they play on the schedule this year? It's going to be in question whether they're real or not once they get into that play and whether they could stick around. So some of the other matchups that happened, we had Miami, number 4 Miami, play host to Florida. Now, the Florida Gators, they were expected to have a good season this year. But at the top of the year, the head coach was also put on the hot seat. And Florida, they've yet to win a game. And it continued yesterday, losing to Miami 26-7. Florida still without a win this season. Did you expect Florida to be where they're at this year?
No, I mean, they're really struggling this year as well, which is kind of, surprising. So I don't know. I don't really know what's going on there. I think you can expect some pretty big changes. I would say towards the end of the year for them to really change some things up.
Well, I had said that if Florida goes in and loses to Miami, which was expected, there was no expectations of Florida coming in and beating Miami, that I think the coach would be fired this week because of him being on the hot seat. The fans were basically calling for him to be fired. And, now it's just a waiting game. I mean, I haven't seen anything or heard anything yet since the game was over yesterday, whether he was fired or not. And, in college football, that's the big thing about college football is college football. There's a lot of tradition, and a lot of schools hold value to tradition. And even when it comes to their sports like football, if the head coach did a good thing for that school, even the year before, and things bad happen the year after, sometimes they'll hold the tradition of, okay, we'll pay the respect and we'll wait until this day to do what we need to do, kind of show that respect. So, in other action, Florida State, they continue to be in their winning ways, defeating Kent State 66-10. Now, Cam, I wanted to ask you this and your thoughts because me and John talked about this on the Tuesday show. Florida State, since the beginning of the season, they go out, they shock Alabama, and they just keep climbing the rankings. Now, it is very rare for a team that's on a bye week to lose their spot because there's a team that's going and winning and climbing the rankings. Now, Georgia, who's at number 5, is on a bye week. They haven't played this week. But Florida State, on the other hand, they come out, they beat Kent State. They're now 3-0. Do you think Florida State should move into the number 5 spot and Georgia moved down to 7, even though Georgia didn't play and Georgia's undefeated as well? Do you think they should flip-flop them around since Florida State keeps climbing that ladder?
I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily do that with, Georgia State being on a bye week. I don't know. I don't think that would be right to, Georgia necessarily. But I mean, like I said, it's very possible. I mean, I think we have to see what happens, for the next week of games or for Florida State, and see if they continue their winning ways. And then I would definitely say they should definitely move up to where Georgia is, but just not right now, just because, like I said, I just believe that would be weird to do to Georgia,
Well, like I said, it's very rare that they do bump teams that are on a bye week. It's very rare, but we've seen it happen. So, I mean, I can agree with you. It probably wouldn't be right to do it to Georgia because they haven't played yet. And, Georgia is 3-0. Florida State just became 3-0. This was their third win. They were on a bye week last week. So, I mean, I could see what you mean, but they're, bumping Georgia probably wouldn't be right to the fact that Georgia was 3-0 before going on their bye week. So, but Florida State, they do play next week against Virginia, which is going to be a big matchup. They go on the road out to Virginia. So, maybe, if they beat Virginia next week, who knows? Because Virginia, and I'm going to look at Georgia's schedule here for a second and see who Georgia plays, because it all does matter also who you play in the rankings. Even though you're not in the top 25, you still have a considered ranking because there is a top 150, which is crazy. So Georgia plays Alabama next week. So that's a bigger game for Georgia.
Yeah.
So if Georgia and Florida State both win next week, I obviously Georgia would stick around in the 5. But if they lose to Alabama and Florida State wins, then Florida State's going to move up. I think so. Cam, I didn't know if there was any other action. Oh, we also had Texas Tech, number 16 Utah lose to number 17 Texas Tech, 34-10. Another upset in the top 25. Your thoughts on Texas Tech defeating Utah?
Again, like I said, another surprising upset from a lower ranking. And like I said, they have the potential to move up there. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people for sure. Moving up, I think that's what's great about this top 25 ranking. You could have unranked teams climbing there. We've seen Vanderbilt do it. They're ranked now. They've upset a couple people as well. So I can expect Texas Tech to continue to their winning ways and really upset some people.
John asked me on Tuesday's show, he was like, is it really an upset if, Texas Tech's number 17, Utah's number 16? And he asked me, is it really an upset if Texas Tech does defeat Utah? Because of the ranking being so close. Utah's number 16, Texas Tech being 17. And I said to him, the thing is you kind of consider it an upset because Texas Tech is number 17. They are a lower seed than Utah, even though it's by one seed or one ranking. It's still lower, which is considered an upset. So that other than that, I could see the fact of it not being considered an upset because of how close they are. They're basically going to flip-flop spots in the top 25. Maybe Utah falls a couple spots, but other than that, that lower ranking, they beat a higher ranking, then that's considered an upset, no matter where it's at and no matter how close it is. Kim, I don't know if there's any other games that you were looking at. The one game that I was looking at was Notre Dame defeating Purdue 56-30. Notre Dame, who's in the top 25 at number 24, was 0-2 going into this game. Now, me and John talked about Notre Dame, not having a win and sticking around in the top 25, but yet you had teams that lost 2 games and won 1 game, and they got knocked out of the top 25. What are your thoughts on Notre Dame sticking around the top 25, still being we're 0-2 going into their game against Purdue?
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised that they realistically didn't drop out after the last game they lost 40-41. It is very strange. I was surprised to see them still ranked. I expected them to not be up there. Again, this is a team you're talking about that was the runner up. That was against Ohio State in the championship last year. So definitely struggling there. I didn't see that coming from them because they're a really good team. And to be 0-2 is just very bizarre. But if you ask me, I don't think they should be ranked if they're just now getting their first win now. So very strange. It's just more of just the the confusion, especially for me being a newer college football watcher, of just how the ranking system really works and how wins and losses really matter in the climbing of the rankings and the dropping of the rankings. So very odd to see them still ranked after being 0-2.
You're definitely not in that ship alone, because this is my second year of fully being back involved in college football. For a couple of years, I kind of fell off on college football. It was probably at least 8 years that I fell off on college football. I paid attention, but I didn't pay attention. I really didn't watch too many of the games. And then last year, I said to myself, you know what? Doing a podcast, it'd be better for me to get fully engulfed into it. I got to watch games. I got to pay attention to the news. I got to pay attention to everything. So I'm still kind of fairly new to learning things too. So there's some things that we talk about and we may be saying, and the viewers probably thinking, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like this, we're kind of both, still fairly new to the way of college football, because when you go back 8 years ago, we didn't have a 12-team playoff. It was just 2 teams that got picked to go to the national championship, because the 4-team playoff didn't happen until the late 2010s. Okay? Like 2017, 2018. So it's been a couple years, since everything changed around. So, because we did have a fan of the show question something we talked about last week, and just to kind of explain, both of us are kind of fairly new to learning the ways of college football, but hey, we'll get there. Patience. So, Cam, I was and the question I've been trying to pose, was there any other games that you focused on this week that you'd like to talk about?
I would probably say Vanderbilt beating Georgia State. Again, like I said, they continue their winning ways. I think they're going to be the underdog. I think in the top 25, honestly, and just continue to do things that I think a lot of people may have not expected from them. So I definitely would keep a very close eye on Vanderbilt. I think they're really good this year. So yeah.
All righty. Well, we are going to have the top 25 is going to be updating. They've been updating it on Sunday afternoons now, Cam. We talked about the updating of the top 25 last week, and normally early in the season they would update it on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
These past couple weeks they've been updated on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. So the committee has been very much on top of their game with updating the top 25 quicker than anything. So we'll know later today what the new positioning is, because the teams in the top 25 that lost this week, obviously Illinois at number 9, they lost their game, and then Utah at number 16, and Auburn at number 22. So we'll see if there's any big movements there with those teams losing in the top 25. But that's all we got for college football. Me and John will preview week 5 on Tuesday's show, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Huddle Hub podcast. So come join us on Tuesday to talk about week 5 and preview week 5 for you guys. So let's get into the news segment of the day, Cam. Not a lot of news, but big news coming out of the NFL. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the quarterback situation. Okay, Cam, there's a lot of injuries, a lot of big injuries happening in the NFL, a lot of big key players suffering injuries. Players are out for a couple weeks for something, and some players are out basically for the year. And it's going to affect a lot of teams either now or moving forward later in the season. Cam, the key quarterbacks that are out right now, Jaden Daniels from the Commanders. He's out today with a knee injury. He was posted questionable earlier this week, but they deemed him out yesterday afternoon, saying that he's going to be out and that Marcus Mariota, his backup, is going to get the start. J.J. McCarthy from the Vikings, he suffered an ankle injury last week. Carson Wentz is going to be the starter today for the Vikings. Joe Burrow from the Bengals, as we know, suffered turf toe. He's going to be out for about 3 months. Jake Browning will be the starter for the Bengals. The Bengals and the Vikings play today. It's going to be the battle of the backups. We'll talk about that game in a few minutes. Justin Fields from the Jets suffered a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. Tyrod Taylor will get the start. Brock Purdy from the 49ers, he suffered a shoulder and toe injury. Now, he did practice earlier this week, and they thought, man, this guy went from 2 to 4 weeks being out. A day later, he's practicing and he's questionable for today. Well, they said now Mac Jones will get the start in San Francisco. So, Cam, what's your thoughts on all these starting quarterbacks being out, and how much do you think it will affect these teams?
Man, it's insane. I mean, we sat up here and we had such high regard. I mean, for Joe Burrow specifically. I mean, one of the quarterbacks, me and you both said we could see winning the MVP this year. And then all hell breaks loose, and it's only week 2. So it's really quarterback Armageddon right now. It feels like. I can see for the Vikings specifically with JJ McCarthy. I don't think there'll be. I don't think it's time to necessarily panic. I think they're still figuring out their footing as far as who they are on offense anyways. And again, this is still JJ McCarthy's. Realistically, this is his his realistic, first, start in the NFL, and his rookie season, since his rookie season was essentially taken from him due to injury. Yeah. So they're still figuring out, the kinks and things that really work for them. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily time to panic. They're still figuring out things. In terms of the Niners, I mean, the Niners are doing okay right now with Mac Jones. So I wouldn't really, be too concerned with them. They're 2-0 right now. So I think they're working, firing all cylinders right now. So I think they'll be okay. In terms of the Bengals, again, I wouldn't panic necessarily. I think they need to figure out, just how, Jake Browning really operates. Uh, I would say he's not the greatest under pressure. He definitely makes some pretty risky throws when he is under pressure, I believe. So if he gets better with that, I feel like they'll be okay too. So definitely not time to panic for them either. So I think a lot of these teams will be okay. And they'll definitely have to figure out, where they go with their backups. But I don't think it's necessarily time to panic for a lot of these teams.
The Bengals and the Vikings game is the one game that kind of intrigues me today because it is Jake Browning against Carson Wentz. It's not JJ McCarthy against Joe Burrow. And that's a 1:00 p.m. game today. And I had said to you, and I'd said to a lot of people off air, that this is one game that I'm really going to be keeping my eye on. I'm going to be keeping my eye on this game because of the fact that it's two backups playing against each other. And have we seen backups face each other before? Yeah, we have. But this year, for some reason, like, this game is just so intriguing to see because both teams have weapons on offense, but their key to their offense is their quarterback position. And it's like, okay, both guys are down. Let's see what these back. Carson Wentz hasn't started a game in 2 years, basically. He hasn't started a game in 2 years. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how he dusts off the dust and comes out. I mean, no, actually he started 2 games in the last 2 years because he did start for the Chiefs last year against Broncos in week 18. So scratch that. But yeah, it's going to be intriguing. But the backups, Cam. Brett Ripien is the backup in Cincinnati to Jake Browning. Max Brosmer is the backup in Minnesota. Josh Johnson is the backup out in Washington. Brady Cook is the backup out in New York for the Jets. And Adrian Martinez is the backup for Mac Jones out in San Francisco. But there is discussion about Brock Purdy possibly be put in the QB2 position just in case of emergencies. So I don't know, but right now Adrian Martinez is the backup to Mac Jones out in San Francisco. Couple other things coming out this week. The Falcons released their kicker Young Ho Koo, and they went out and signed Parker Romo. So the Falcons have replaced their kicker. We've seen a lot of kickers have issues this year, missing extra points, missing crucial field goals. And I said it last week, kickers don't stick around as much anymore, regardless of how long they've been with the team. Kickers do not stick around much anymore. Do you think teams should start committing to their kickers again, even if they're having issues in a week or two of games?
No, and that's just because, like I said, I think, again, the kicker position is still, I would say a lot of times people may think that, the kicker position is probably the easiest. Realistically, it might be one of the hardest, just because, like I said, you have to kick under all that pressure with these crucial field goals that could change the outcome of the game, or these game-winning field goals that if you miss, you're out of the playoffs and things like that. So they need those really clutch kickers that are going to make these field goals and to thrive under pressure rather than fold under pressure. So I could see why they are so critical about finding the right kicker. I think right now, one of the longest tenured kickers right now that's been with the same team for 10 years plus now. One of them is Chris Boswell. Yeah. And again, I think that's somebody who definitely needs to be put up there with some of the best kickers I think that we've seen in the league, because he's just clutch. I mean, especially when like Pittsburgh's offense is just not doing anything, he's out there just nailing these field goals. So yeah, it's a crucial position that they really need to emphasize and put importance on.
Yeah, I can understand that going out and replacing your kicker after they're on a bad streak of missing kicks. I could see that being the thing today because, again, kickers can be crucial. I mean, it could be 2020 with 10 seconds left, and it's like, okay, we got to make this field goal to win this game. And they go out and miss, and we go to overtime, you end up losing. So it's not easy to be a kicker nowadays, not only because of how hard they've made it for kickers in ball placement and everything, but as well as job security. So another one is the kicker out in Philadelphia, Jake Elliott. He's been with the Eagles since 2017, their first Super Bowl year, the first Super Bowl that they won. He's been with them since, and there's been times where the fans have called for him to be released because he was on a streak of missing kicks the one year, and Eagles said, we're going to commit to him. We're not going to let him go. He's going to stick with us, and he's still there, and he has 2 Super Bowl trophies. So, hey, Emeka Egbuka, he was going to be questionable this week for a hip growing injury, okay? Now, it was announced on Friday that he was expected to play. Well, yesterday, the Seahawks announced that there was a bug going around the facilities in Seattle, and now Jackson Smith-Njigba, I'm sorry, I'm talking about Emeka Egbuka. Oh my gosh, why am I mixing up players here? Sorry. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver of the Buccaneers, he suffered a hip growing injury. He was questionable for Sunday's game against the Jets. It was announced that he is going to play today. So Emeka Egbuka out in Tampa Bay will play. Now, with Jackson Smith-Njigba, the Seattle Seahawks, they've been dealing with flu-like symptoms around the facilities all week. And it was announced that on Saturday that he started feeling symptoms, but he is expected to play today in their game. So any thoughts on Emeka Egbuka with him playing with the hip growing out in Tampa Bay, and any thoughts on Jackson Smith-Njigba out in Seattle being sick?
In terms of Egbuka, I think that's just the toughness in him, wanting to just play through it. Obviously, I don't think it's that serious if they're allowing him to play. I think it. I'm not going to say I don't. I think it would be a huge loss to their offense out in Tampa Bay. But they definitely need him. I think he's going to do big things in Tampa Bay. Definitely like Egbuka. Definitely like watching him play. So that's good news for Tampa Bay that he is still going to play today. And then in terms of this outbreak right now. In Seattle, hopefully they contain that as much as humanly possible, because that'll be the next thing that's plaguing week 3 with everybody getting sick. So let's hope they contain that as much as humanly possible.
Back in the 90s, NBA Finals, Michael Jordan, the flu game, had one of the best performances ever in NBA history, NBA Finals history.
True.
2 years ago, Devontae Adams, wide receiver of the Raiders, now the wide receiver for the Rams. He had the flu, had one of the best performances on Monday Night Football for the Raiders. Is Jackson Smith-Njigba the next flu game guy? And it's out in Seattle.
Could be.
It's a big question. Who knows? We'll have to find out. Tucker Kraft, tight end of the Packers. He had a big game last week, right? He suffered a knee injury, and it was questionable on whether he was going to play this week and beyond. There was a little bit of a scare out in Green Bay because he hurt his knee during practice. It was during practice that he suffered this injury. He went and got tests done. Everything's good to go. There's only some soreness. And Tucker Kraft will play for the Green Bay Packers today in their game. Last bit of news, the Patriots, they are going to be inducting 2 people into their Hall of Fame. They're going to be inducting 2 people into their Hall of Fame. Number 1, Bill Parcells, the former head coach. He was the head coach in New England from 1993 to 1996. He was also the linebackers coach back in 1980. So Bill Parcells, he is going to be inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame this year. And wide receiver Julian Edelman, he is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. He played from 2009 to 2020, played his whole career out in New England. Now, his stats, 620 catches, 6,822 yards, 36 touchdowns. And then when it came to kick returning, 2,612 return yards, and he had 4 touchdown returns. Now, with Bill Parcells and Julian Edelman both getting inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame, Bill Parcells was able to lead the Patriots to the Super Bowl the one year, losing to the Green Bay Packers. And that was the first time the Packers won the Super Bowl with Brett Favre as their quarterback. They got to that point after so many years of not making it back to the Super Bowl and winning, because the Packers, they were in Super Bowl 1 and 2, and they won both. And then it took them years until they got back to the Super Bowl and hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. And Bill Parcells was a part of the losing end of that one back in 1996. And then Julian Edelman, he was basically a slot guy. You look at Julian Edelman's statistics, 6,822 receiving yards in his career. He was a slot guy. So he was that guy that Brady looked for when time in need. So Bill Parcells, Julian Edelman, both getting inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame this year. So Cam, if you have anything to say about Bill Parcells and Julian Edelman getting into the Patriots Hall of Fame.
Not really. I mean, like I said, that's awesome that they are being inducted. Again, like I said, it's always cool to see, these players, get their, time in the limelight, I guess you could say, so it's always great to see different teams showing respects to the players, but, in the past.
I mean, the one thing that coaches and players always try to strive for, and that's getting the gold jacket, at the beginning of the summertime. I mean, in the NFL Hall of Fame. But when you get inducted to a team Hall of Fame, it's still special because you dedicated a lot of time to said team. So now they are paying their respect to you and saying thank you for your contributions to the organization and all the success that you had, in order to make it into the Hall of Fame. Last bit of news here: Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Cowboys. One of the analysts over on the on NFL.com has predicted Dak Prescott to be the number one quarterback this week in fantasy football. Now, Cam, I'm an Eagles fan, big Eagles fan, not a fan of the Cowboys at all, right? But when I read this, I was like, I can't laugh at this because Dak Prescott, he's having a pretty good start to his year, which is pretty realistic. This is a pretty realistic thing that he could be the number one quarterback in fantasy football through week 3. So do you have any thoughts on Dak Prescott and being predicted to be the number one quarterback in fantasy football?
I mean, I could honestly see it definitely being the number one quarterback in fantasy football. I'd say he's got competition, I think, with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is also having a pretty good year, and I don't think anybody else expected that. But yeah, like I said, I mean, Dak looks good. Like I said, I mean, my disdain for the Cowboys aside, they look good. They don't look bad at all. I mean, the offense is realistically clicking, I think, on all cylinders. They just got to clean some things up. And I'm realistically expecting Dak to have a big year, honestly.
I mean, I've admitted to it in the week 1 matchup against the Eagles. If they make a couple plays on offense, CeeDee Lamb makes the catches that he makes, he could put the Cowboys in position to win that game. Cowboys win, they're 1-0. Last week against the Giants, they end up beating the Giants in a shootout. They would have been 2-0. I mean, this Cowboys team, they realistically look good. There's some things, like you said, they do need to clean up, like every other team needs to clean things up. The Eagles need to clean up their defense. They need to figure out how to, get the ball downfield on offense, because Jalen Hurts has not thrown the ball deep many times this year or at all, maybe once in 2 games. He finished with a little over 100 yards last week passing, So and it's all about whether you're on the upper hand of the scoreboard at the end of the game. That's all that matters. Statistics, do they matter? Yeah, they matter, but what really matters is what the scoreboard says at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, I mean, they couldn't make the scoreboard look better for them in week 1, but they definitely made it look better for them in week 2. And Dak Prescott is having a pretty decent start to the year. And you're not wrong. Daniel Jones, he's also having one. So, a lot of videos out there are saying, are we in the right universe that Daniel Jones could be considered for league MVP? It's nuts. So, but that's all we got for the news. We are going to preview week 3 of the NFL. We're going to take a 45-second break here. Please head over to the Huddle Podcast social medias right now. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. We'll be right back. So make sure you're heading over to all the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias right now over on X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. Make sure you're hitting that follow button on YouTube, hitting the subscribe button, and over on the Twitch channel at the Huddle Hub Podcast. It would deeply be appreciated and help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. Cam, let's get into week 3 of the NFL. We got some big matchups this week. The Bills, they kicked off week 3, defeating the Dolphins 31-21 on Thursday Night Football. The Dolphins, I mean, Mike McDaniel out in Miami, you know, he got a big contract extension about a year ago. And now there's in question on whether he's going to continue being the head coach. Now, as of right now, Miami's saying he's not on the hot seat. They're going to let him try and figure things out. But out in Miami, I mean, if he doesn't figure things out probably by midseason, there may be a chance Mike McDaniel may be gone. Like I said, contracts, they don't matter no more. Big contracts don't matter no more for coaches, for players, assistants, personnel, all that stuff. It does not matter no more. And Mike McDaniel, he is the most current coach facing this scrutiny right now, being 0-3, starting 0-3, while Buffalo, they lead the AFC East being 3-0. So, but the Bills end up picking up that win 31-21. Let's get into the 1 o'clock games, though, happening. The Bengals and the Vikings, we know is going to be the battle of the backups. Jake Browning against Carson Wentz. Your thoughts on the Bengals and Vikings? What are you looking for in that game?
I'm just looking for the Bengals to really, protect Jake Browning. We talked about this in great lengths, and for a while now, this has been the biggest, question mark for the Bengals, and that's always the O-line, to protect Joe Burrow, which they did not do. That's why he's hurt now. At some point you have to wonder with this Bengals team, what is the breaking point? Like when is enough enough? Are they capable of providing that protection for the passing game, for their quarterback, whoever is at their quarterback, whether it be Jake Browning or Joe Burrow? That's going to be the biggest question here, because that's what's ultimately going to hurt them, I think, in the long run. But I think Jake Browning is I guess the right decision for right now. I don't think he's all that bad. That's why I said earlier, I don't think it's time to panic for Bengals or Bengals fans necessarily. And in terms of the Vikings, like I said, I'm not quite sure what to expect necessarily from the offense. The defense looks okay, salvageable, I guess you could say. But the leadership, I think, is one thing that I think is great right now with Minnesota, because their coach, I think, has just provided, nothing but utter confidence, I think, in his team and in his quarterback in the past. And I think that's going to carry them very far.
I think Jake Browning is going to be fine. My question is going to be Carson Wentz for the Vikings, because, again, I mean, he's had 2 starts in the last 2 years. His last start was last year in Week 18 against the Broncos in that big loss that helped the Broncos secure their playoff spot. But Jake Browning, I mean, he has a winning record. He's 4-3 all time. They see success in Jake Browning when he's out there. He keeps the team kind of afloat. Joe Burrow, he went down 2-3 years ago. Jake Browning came in and almost led the Bengals to the playoffs. So it's led the Bengals to the playoffs, I believe. But anyways, I mean, my focus is going to be on Jake Browning, like you said, but it's also going to be on Carson Wentz, because it's all about if Carson Wentz can, move the offense. My bigger question is that Bengals defense. That defense is not the greatest. Yeah. You can go out and sign, your big time players, but that's just one player. Not one player can make a difference. You need the whole defense to step up and do what they need to do. And the Bengals, they've had some defensive problems leading back to 2 years ago. So we'll have to see what happens in the Bengals-Vikings game. The Texans and the Jaguars meet up in a big AFC South matchup today. The Texans looking a little rough, even in winning fashion. The Jaguars, on the other hand, I mean, the Jaguars right now, it's either they're going to go out and win a game or they're going to lose a game. I mean, that's every team. But when you watch the Jaguars, it's like, okay, you could tell by the fourth quarter whether they're going to win a game or lose a game. So what do you got in the Texans-Jaguars game?
For the Jags, like I said, I would just keep leaning into their strengths. I think the offense looks the best that I've seen it look in a while. I think the defense needs to be a little bit better. I would love to see more from Travis Hunter. Mainly, I think on the defensive end, I think they should use him more at the cornerback position. I think that's where he strives more because, I mean, dude, you go back to the game from last week, every play, I think on defense, he was there. No, you see number 12 pop up every single play. He was there on every pass down the sideline. So he's definitely all over the field. He's a magnet for that ball. And I just think cornerback right now, I think suits him a little bit better. The Texans, I think we talked about it too. It's the same thing with another really bad O-line. Like I said, I'm a big fan of CJ Stroud, but he can't work his magic if he's not given any time to really throw. So they definitely need to clean things up there at the O-line, and I think they'll be golden. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars right now, my question was about Travis Hunter of whether he's going to be able to handle playing both sides of the ball, and he's been able to. He's been playing almost every snap this year. It's going to be all about whether it catches up to him or not. And I'd said to John on an earlier show this year that I have a feeling by maybe mid-season or the end of the season, it catches up to him. And by next year, he's on one side of the ball. I don't see him playing his whole career on two sides of the ball. Deion Sanders tried it, and he ended up just playing defense. And he did a couple kick returning. He was a two-sport guy at one time. He ended up just playing one sport on the back end of his career. So it's like it all catches up to you because you're only human. You're not a machine, you know? So if this kid wants to have a lengthy career in the NFL, then he might want to, maybe by next year start thinking about what side of the ball he really wants to be on. I understand in college you played both sides of the ball, but college is college. The NFL was faster.
Yeah.
They hit harder. So, the Colts and the Titans, another AFC South matchup out in Tennessee. The Colts right now 2-0. The Colts, they broke a record last week in their first two games in the Super Bowl era, have not punted the ball or turned the ball over. So the Colts broke a record last week, two records, with not turning the ball over or punting the ball in their first two games. Daniel Jones looking good. What are you looking for in the Colts-Titans game today?
I mean, like I said, I could see the Colts continuing to grow. I mean, you talk about them breaking records. I mean, they also ended their streak of not winning their home opener in 10 years. So that's crazy right now. So like I said, the Colts right now are looking really good. Daniel Jones is definitely silencing some of the doubters, a lot of the doubters, if you will. So, I mean, I would say the defense has to be better. They can't miss opportunities to make stops and allow these teams to get back into it and have to have it come down to a penalty, and a field goal and things like that. So definitely need to be better on defense, I think, like that. And like I said, that Daniel Jones continue doing what he's doing and just making the Giants look goofy for letting him go. In terms of the Titans, I mean, they have a non-existent O-line as well. I do believe. I believe Cam Ward has to do more hero ball essentially. He shouldn't have to do that. That's not good for him long term. That could potentially get him hurt. So they need to be better on O-line, specifically for the Titans.
Yeah, I made the mention when the Titans drafted Cam Ward of try and go out there because Will Levis was announced to miss the whole season right after Cam Ward got drafted. And I said, I think they need to go out, find a veteran quarterback that's on the free agent list. There was a few of them out there at the time. Pick them up, have them come in and run the offense, let Cam Ward sit and watch year one instead of throwing him into the fire because this Titans team is not going to be good. It's not. And it's not, I mean, for the most part, they looked okay this year so far, but at the same time, it's, I don't know. I still think Tennessee has enough time to say, hey, if we lose today to the Colts, then maybe we let Cam Ward sit the rest of the year. bring in a veteran quarterback and let them, run the gauntlet for the rest of the year. And whether they make the playoffs or not, who knows? But Cam Ward, you throw him into the fire, you take away his confidence. That's a bad thing. You don't want to take away, a top draft pick's confidence when they are expected to come in and do big things. So the Raiders are going out to Washington to take on the Commanders today. Geno Smith, he's looking pretty good out in Las Vegas. They had a couple opportunities last Monday night to defeat the Chargers on Monday Night Football, but did not take advantage of those opportunities. Do you think they have a big opportunity to defeat the Commanders today with the Commanders not having Jaden Daniels?
I mean, if there was ever a time to beat the Commanders, I think now is the time to do it with Jaden Daniels being out. Again, I would say, again, this is another thing with the O-line, definitely protect Geno Smith more. Geno Smith is definitely not he's definitely not a runner. I seen Geno Smith try to run a couple of times in that game, and it just doesn't look good. So he's definitely not much of a runner, I don't think. But yeah, I would say the defense in terms of Commanders offense. They could come out and shock us. We don't know. And I think if this Commander team gets out ahead and strikes first and scores first, I think the Raiders defense might have their hands full today. But I expect Geno to return to his old form. It definitely didn't look like Geno Smith out there last week on prime time. So I'm definitely expecting Geno to be better in this game.
We got the Los Angeles Rams heading out to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles in a divisional round matchup from the playoffs last year. The last couple times that the Eagles and specifically Saquon Barkley played the Rams, they just ran all over that defense. Are you expecting the same thing to happen today out in Philadelphia with the Eagles and the Rams?
I mean, again, this is another team I think, on defense, I think the Eagles might have their hands full with this Rams offense. I mean, Matt Stafford just has so many weapons now. I thought maybe, them letting go of Cooper Kupp, maybe that wasn't the best decision, but no, like I said, I think they've cleaned things up and they really look good on offense. So this Eagles defense definitely needs to be able to stop Matt Stafford from throwing downfield and really hone in on who they are as a defense, I think. In terms of, the Eagles, I mean, you said it before, I think Hurts does really good. He really doesn't need to throw downfield as much. I mean, again, and that's just because of, Saquon Barkley. I mean, Saquon, they run the ball so well. The Eagles have really become a big run heavy offense, and it works. It works for them, so they stick to their strengths. Don't fix what's not broken, I guess you could say, when it comes to the Eagles.
I mean, the Eagles defense, they definitely have things to clean up. Like I said, I've been saying they definitely need to try and get back to their defensive form from last year. And last year, they started doing that after their bye week in week 5. The way the game is going this year, the way the NFL is going this year, you cannot wait until week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8. None of that. You need to make it happen now. And as far as the tush push, I mean, that's been under a lot of scrutiny. People have been watching the replays and seeing that the Eagles committed 2 false starts and didn't get called on it. That play is definitely going to be under a magnifying glass today as well if they run it. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The Falcons and the Panthers end up facing off in an NFC South matchup today. The Panthers are it's rough for them, and it's just gotten rougher because Xavier Legette, the wide receiver, is not expected to play. Now, he hasn't done very many big things so far this year. So the question is he a big piece of the puzzle missing or not? Meanwhile, in Atlanta, they've been having a pretty decent start this year. Not too bad. What are you looking for in the Falcons-Panthers game?
I mean, in terms of the Falcons, I think Penix looks pretty good on offense. I think they just need to take care of that ball. They definitely had some drops and some fumbles there in their last game, so they definitely need to protect the ball more. I feel like in terms of the Panthers, like I said, it's so bad because I'm rooting for Bryce Young so much. I think he's hella talented right now. But I mean, like I said, again, you're going to hear me say this a lot about a lot of these teams. This is another terrible O-line. They are realistically serving Bryce Young up on a silver platter to the defense of any team that they play right now. So they definitely got to be a whole lot better. Because I saw some great things out of that Arizona game, but they just came too late. They need to play 4 quarters of football and really need to strike strike now. Don't wait until later in the game. I could say that about the Panthers season. Don't wait until later in the year like they did last season when it's too late realistically to be able to make the playoffs. Because I can see this team sneaking into the playoffs. If they realistically clean things up. So I think what Bryce Young's doing right now is fantastic. It's just like that. Like I said, that team definitely needs to clean things up on offense and that O line. So.
The Pittsburgh Steelers head out to New England today to take on the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers had a rough go last week after having that big performance in week 1. He did end up tying Brett Favre's all-time touchdown passing record last week at 209 on his career. What are you looking for in the Pittsburgh-New England game today?
I mean, you have the highest paid defense right now with the Steelers. They definitely have to be better. They've had 30-plus points dropped on them in the first 2 weeks of football. So they definitely have to be better because there's just realistically no excuses there. In terms of Aaron Rodgers, I'm not going to harp on him too much quite yet. I definitely have to see, how he pans out, middle of the season and whatnot have you, and see what he's realistically doing. But it is kind of a shocking drop off from week 1, throwing 4 touchdowns and then to only having 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions the next week. So it definitely needs to be more consistent with Aaron Rodgers. I will say that. In terms of the Patriots, I don't really have much on the Patriots. I'm still trying to really figure out this wow factor that, these Patriots fans are saying that they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They look decent, but not like they scare me as if they're really going to make a run and make some noise with the playoffs. So we'll have to see there.
I mean, when you watch the Patriots in the preseason, you've seen the promise in them, but that's the preseason. They're playing in games that don't count. Things count now. You got to make things happen when they count, and the Patriots just are not doing that. So the Packers are going out to Cleveland to take on the Browns today. I think this is going to be a fairly easy win for the Packers. I mean, Packers right now, and I talk about this, having that list of complete teams put together. The Packers are number 5 on my list. I mean, this team is looking good. I don't see the Packers having any trouble out in Cleveland, but your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I'm definitely giving the advantage to the Packers. This should be an easy win for them. I mean, they're stacked on defense. They're stacked on offense. Jordan Love's looking great right now. So, like I said, this should not realistically be any issues there. Again, like I said it before, that the Packers are realistically looking like a dangerous team right now in the NFC. I would just say, like I said, specifically with offense, and I said this last week, they just need to slow down a bit and not always look for the deep ball all the time. Because again, it looks like desperation ball when they're not in desperation time. They're in the driver's seat. They're in control. They just need to slow down a bit. In terms of the Browns, I mean, there's not much there. They're definitely trying to do some things with offense or what not have you. I don't even know if Joe Flacco starts the whole year. I could see maybe them starting him for the next couple of weeks, and if it doesn't really pan out, them transitioning to whoever they've got as their backup and realistically starting them. So, but yeah, I don't see them realistically winning this game. I think they're just outmatched on offense and defense.
Final game of the 1 o'clock set. The Jets head out to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers undefeated. They're winning games in big fashion right now. Not big fashion as far as the scoreboard looking in big fashion, but in I would say exciting fashion. It's coming down to the wire, winning games that way. But the Buccaneers still undefeated, looking good. Baker Mayfield earlier this week had an interview, and they asked, they asked him, things about other teams not, what are his thoughts on things with how why other teams, like what other teams think about him, all that stuff. He's like, we just don't give a shit. Like, we don't give a fuck. He has 0 fucks to give, and they're gonna go out there and play football. I had a video on the interview earlier this week. Didn't upload it. I wish I would have, because then you would have been able to see the interview. But anyways, Jets Bucks today. What do you got in this game?
I think right now the Jets, they mainly have to lean on their defense. I think their defense is solid for the most part. Their offense, I think, is going to be the thing that's under a microscope today, with Justin Fields out in concussion protocol. So we'll have to see there and see what they can produce in this game. In terms of the Buccaneers, like I said, they look good. They look good for the most part. Again, they just need to once again protect Baker Mayfield. In the game in prime time last week, it was like, he basically Baker Mayfield basically had to play, again, what I like to call, hero ball. He's running the ball. I need him to not take another hit to the knee like he took for that first down, because that was scary. So it's stuff like that I feel like is not necessary for him to have to do. But I mean that's just that's just the kind of player that he is. He is determined to get wins, and he just will not stop playing no matter how badly it may look for his team in being down in games. So I could expect more of that. Just that tenacity, that fire from Baker Mayfield. I think he's also somebody that I could consider a possibility to win MVP for this year, the way he's playing right now.
We got the Broncos and Chargers kicking off the 4:00 set of games, AFC West matchup. Cam, what do you got on the Broncos Chargers?
Man, this could be a shootout. I think. I think the Broncos look really good right now. They went to battle with the Colts last week. They definitely were not giving up that game. And then, of course, the Chargers look really good right now. They've looked good since the start. They look good since the shocking upset of them beating the Chiefs. So I could see this being really good. They both teams look good on offense and defense. So this could be probably one of the games of the week.
The Saints head out to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Again, the Seahawks dealing with the illness right now going around the facilities. The Saints, on the other hand, I don't think the Seahawks have anything to worry about regardless. It's the Saints. It's not looking good out there. Your thoughts on the Saints and Seahawks?
Yeah, I'm definitely giving the Seahawks the edge on this one. Rattler, last week he definitely surprised me. I think he definitely is trying to make a name for himself, throwing 3 touchdowns last week. So that was definitely impressive, I think. But I just don't think the Saints, I don't think they know how to start games or finish games right now. And I think that's what's really realistically killing them. So I'm definitely with you on that one.
We got the Cowboys and the Bears out in Chicago today. The Bears, they were expected to start off hot, have a great season, all that stuff, but things are looking rough out there. The Cowboys, on the other hand, looking good. Probably should be 2-0. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys and Bears?
Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be an easy win for the Cowboys. Again, the Bears, they always seem to know how to start games really, really well, and then they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. And just have games slip through their fingers. So I can expect more of that from the Bears in this game.
The Cardinals and the 49ers in a big NFC West matchup, both teams undefeated. One of them, if this game doesn't tie, is going to walk out with a loss today. What are you looking for in the Cardinals and 49ers game to cap off the 4:00 set?
I'm thinking it's going to be another shootout, honestly. Like I said, the Cardinals are playing really good, which is surprising me. Kyler Murray is really looking the best that I've seen him look in a couple of seasons as well. And like I said, the Niners, even with Brock Purdy out, are still looking pretty good. So it's really going to come down to the wire in this game, I believe.
Tonight on Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs and the Giants battle it out. The Giants almost picked up their first win last week in that shootout against the Cowboys. The Chiefs, they're looking for their first win as well. Just like the Cardinals 49ers, with one of those teams walking away with a loss, one of these teams are going to be walking away with a win. What do you got in the Chiefs-Giants game?
If the Giants play like the way they did last week against the Cowboys, this could realistically get away from the Chiefs. Their defense isn't looking all that well, and their offense is looking even worse. They've got a couple of players out. They're having, Patrick Mahomes is having overthrows and people are dropping passes and things like that and throwing interceptions. Just not what we are used to when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. So this could potentially get away from them if the Giants play like they did against the Cowboys.
The Monday night game last year would have been considered a Super Bowl matchup. It's still being considered a possible Super Bowl matchup this year. We got the Lions and the Ravens, Monday Night Football. Big game for both teams. Big game in general to be watching. What do you got on the Lions-Ravens on Monday Night Football?
I think the Lions are back. They definitely are playing like the Lions that we have known them to be the last 2 seasons. So that is very scary for anybody facing the Lions right now. I think the Ravens look good. They played the Browns last week, which that's a no-brainer. They definitely went out there and they played and they won as they should have. Their run game right now, I think, is kind of shaky because will the real King Henry please stand up? Because it's not looking like Derrick Henry right now with 2 fumbles in the past 2 games. So that's very concerning I would say, for their run game right now, and concerning for Derrick Henry. But yeah, like I said, and then you get the Lions, and of course we got to talk about their run game. And it's fantastic right now. Going back to form, as I said before. So again, this could be another shootout on Monday night.
All right, well, that's what we got for the Week 3 matchups coming up. Kickoff happening in about 30 seconds. So, yeah, it was completely my fault that we're running late today. I take the blame. Life happens. You get tired, and then you fall asleep without hearing your fucking alarm. Yeah, shit. As far as the pick challenge for me and John, we only have one difference this week, and that's the Sunday night game. He took the Giants. I took the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs win, I tie up our overall record. If the Giants win, he takes a 2-game lead. So we are very close in our pick challenge right now. It's crazy. But let's get out of here. Cam, your socials are on the bottom. What do you want to let the people know?
Well, like I said, we will be back here. Well, first of all, I actually uploaded a video on my socials talking about the IWC and WrestlePalooza. So go check that out as well on Cam's Wrestling Corner. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you like that video, share the video, and all that jazz. And then in terms of our content week, we'll be back here tomorrow night talking about some Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, once again on Wednesday night with the addition of Mr. Phil Khan talking about some AEW Dynamite, the fallout from AEW All Out. So, of course, stay tuned for all of that.
I just noticed this whole show, I had this up. I had the table spot side up.
Hey, it's promotion.
It's promotion, yes. You're probably wondering what the hell the table spot thing is. Well, that's the show that me and Cam host on Monday night after Monday Night Raw over on Rivet City Radio's Twitch and Off the Top Media's YouTube channel. So come check us out on the table spot. We're going to talk some WrestlePalooza from yesterday. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw that happens after the show tomorrow night. So after Monday Night Raw, come join us over there. And then like Cam said, on Wednesday night, the boom, right after AEW Dynamite. So come check that out in the fallout of All Out. Be talking about that. As far as me, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, Metal Mike 714, that's where you can find me. Me and John will be back here on Tuesday for the Tuesday show, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we preview Week 5 of college football and we recap Week 3 of the NFL. With that being said, be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Good luck to your teams today. We'll see you on Tuesday. Deuces.